So, oh my God, guys, right now we have two of the co-founders, Ali Smith and Andreas Gonzáles.
Wow.
Okay, Atman Smith, I see him now. Let me invite him. You can also request me, Atman. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, hopefully that came through okay. Yay! It's working! Oh my gosh! One thing about these brothers, guys, they are prompt. So I am excited. I knew I had to get in here early and be ready. So welcome. I just wanted to give a quick intro to all of them. But before we start, being a girl from New England in Massachusetts, I just wanted to give a quick moment of silence to the victims in Maine. So if we can just have a 2 seconds moment of silence, please. Thank you. So tonight we are our last episode for my World Mental Health Month. And the call for answers, as you guys know, it started because I was blessed to meet Ali, Atman, and Andreas for my mental health doc, The Call, which will be coming next year for sure. But I knew that there's just so much going on and I didn't want to wait. And then of course, personally with my stepdaughter, I didn't want to wait to be able to share the amazing human beings that I've been blessed with, because as we saw, there's just so many pitfalls in the mental health care system. And when I interviewed all three of these beautiful kings, the wise men, I call them in my heart, I just knew that, there were some other ways now that we can actually get through mental health. And they actually helped me because obviously doing a documentary on mental health, my dad's illness, then my brother's, going through mental health issues of violence, depression, in the family, there was suicide in the family. I needed my own, as they call it, involution, a word that you will learn from them today. And so, welcome. Just a quick intro. I want to make sure I say everything. There's just so much to say about these men, but they have, I know I only have them for like an hour, so I want to hurry up through this. But the Holistic Life Foundation, as Ali and Atman are brothers, in case you didn't know, and of course Andreas is their brother from Puerto Rico. But the Holistic Life Foundation is a Baltimore-based 5013C nonprofit organization, and they're committed to nurturing the wellness of children and adults in underserved communities. To get into a little bit about them, they founded it in 2001 with their amazing friend Andreas Gonzáles, and they began teaching yoga and mindfulness practices to at-risk youth in their community. After graduating from high school, one of the best stories I heard from Ali was that, Andreas was going on, he's getting his master's, and like, their dad, who they call Smith, was basically like, just come and don't do that. Come over here and just be broken and do what's in your heart. Yes. So since its inception, HLF has served more than 100,000 plus youth and adults through yoga, mindfulness, and environmental-based programs and trauma-informed training. The organization is also committed to developing high-quality evidence-based programs and a curriculum to improve community well-being. They are doing so much in their community and more. I don't know if you all saw The Wire, but when I went to visit them, the neighborhoods, not too far from there is where the Freddie Gray riots happened. But when I walked into the elementary school at Robert E. Coleman, it was so peaceful, and the same with the high school at Patterson, right? Make sure I'm getting this right. The HLF has been recognized locally, nationally, internationally, and their innovative and effective work has been featured in multiple media outlets, including nationwide print, television, radio, and podcasts, including, if you saw the promos that I kind of borrowed from them. I am a filmmaker. I know how to take content and spin it, but it's just to promote them, obviously. They were with Michael Strahan on the Good Morning America for this amazing book. As you can see, I have lots of tabs because this right here, everyone needs a copy. We'll talk about this last. So welcome, Ali, Atman, and Andreas. Welcome. Thank you for being here and saying yes to me today. I wanted to find out from you guys. I tried to send you a couple of quick questions so that way I stay on task. How and why you started HLS?
I think we started it because of some roots our parents and our teacher planted before we were born. Our dad got into yoga from our godfather, Uncle Will, who you'll hear a ton about in the book. He was one of those people that our Uncle Will got into yoga in the early 60s and never ever got out of it. It just became kind of like an awesome obsession with him. Like he was all about his practice. Like that's all he really wanted to do was practice and teach. He got my dad into the practice. So when he got my dad into the practice, our mom, she wasn't really into like the yoga stuff. She was more into prayer. But you know, she got into the Ayurvedic cooking and being vegan. So you know, those things were going on. Our dad got us into meditation when we were little kids. We grew up in a self-realization fellowship church, went to a Quaker school. It's like all those like seeds are being planted. And then when we graduated, when we were finishing up college, you know, just seeing a lot of suffering in the world, trying to figure out what we were going to do with the rest of our lives, and just reconnecting with the practice through Uncle Will and deepening the practice was just something that, you know, like we were all about it, and we were all about it for ourselves, and we saw how it made us feel, and then we wanted to share it with the world. So that was the yoga side of things, and the business side of the things was our dad sitting me and Atman down when we were about to graduate, telling us not to go get jobs, start a business. And then, like you said, that was when he was like, nah, Andy, you should join them. Like, don't go get a job. Like, just if this is what you guys are going to do, go ahead and go all in. Because, you know, you can't really start a business and have a full-time job if you want to go all in. So we just went all in with the Holistic Life Foundation.
And and to build on what Ali was saying, honestly, like what he was saying as far as us going to the independent school, the Quaker school, Friends school, and then, you know, all of our homies from our neighborhood going to the school that you visited, Robert W. Coleman Elementary School, we kind of saw the disparity in the educational system, you know, the different enrichment activities and different things that we were exposed to at Friends that our homies around the way were not exposed to. So, you know, when we got a chance to start an after school program, you know, we started, you know, the foundation of everything that we do is the yoga, the meditation, the breathing, and the mindfulness, because, you know, that heals trauma. You know, trauma gets stored in the body. The physical practices kind of releases that trauma, makes the body a safe space. The breathing practices kind of can help you still the mind and heal things that the trauma has messed up neurologically. And then the meditation can kind of help you tap into inner peace when your outward world is chaotic. But then, you know, with our after school program, Holistic Me, that was hosted at Robert W. Coleman for years, you know, we brought in a lot of enrichment activities that we know that helped us kind of think on a global scale instead of just a local scale. And we wanted to bring that back to our neighborhood. And, you know, that's what we did. We brought, you know, programs, enrichment activities, like robotics, urban gardening, dance, and a lot of other stuff that kind of got people in our community thinking on a bigger scale. And honestly, we noticed that they're leaders amongst their peers. They've, you know, traveled around the world. Some of our kids have, you know, been to China to film documentaries, been NCAA lacrosse champions, and you know, just got out of the box of being from the hood and experienced the world and realized that, you know, with support, anything was achievable. And, you know, I think that's one thing we wanted to do, was be able to support people the way that people supported us.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to add to anything, Andreas?
Nah,
okay.
They
killed it. And, you know, I got to tell you all, like, when I went to interview them, I also went to the high school, which was Patterson. And not only did Principal Benton, he also was sitting down with one of their, and forgive me if I say this wrong, but I know Uncle Will said that you're not really teachers, right? You're reminders. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I love that process because, you know, then it empowers everybody. Nobody's above anybody. And what I loved was walked into the high school, like most high schools nowadays. You know, there's cops walking around and make sure kids, but it was so peaceful. And when not only did I get to meet the principal, but I got to witness his practice before he started his day with one of their reminders of you know, getting that food, of taking a breath as well. They also practice the meditation, the mindfulness, and we want to talk about the mindful room as well. But before school started, and it was just so zen. Like my camera crew was like, okay, and they were both from Baltimore, so they were like, wait a minute, I didn't even know this place existed. It felt like paradise, like a calm paradise. So what have you personally witnessed in the lives that you've come in contact with? Because even seeing like you know, the young kids on TED Talk. I mean, you guys, by the way, those of you that are watching, you can link onto the Holistic Life Foundation through my bio. I've actually added their link so you can look at all the amazing work these brothers have done. But what have you guys personally witnessed as well with the, you know, the kids, and then growing into being reminders as well?
You know, I think it's really cool because that night when we were all kind of sitting around Uncle Will's kitchen, and he says to us, you know, Atman finds the book, and they've already there. Ali and I had to practice when they were younger because, you know, Smitty, their dad, made them meditate in the morning and stuff like that. But we were kind of getting back into our practice, and Atman finds the book. I was like, hey, we want to do this. And when Uncle Will was like, that's when he kind of was like, if y'all really want to do this, I'm not teaching students, I'm teaching teachers, you know. And I think it's beautiful how that has moved with us the entire time that we've created this organization, how it's such a large part of the foundation of what we do is this reciprocal teaching model where we're constantly teaching the people that we reach out to be teachers themselves, or reminding them, like you said. He would say he's a reminder or a conduit, right? You know, and that's kind of what we are too. And I think it's beautiful to see how we've used that same kind of ideology in our teachings, and it's moved forward. So instead of it just being three guys who saw, you know, a need in the world, we're hundreds of thousands of people, right, who have now together are sharing these practices and going through our communities and impacting not only ourselves but the loved ones in our small circles and those larger ripples that we create throughout, you know, the entire world. And you know, I think that's one of the things that is really amazing to see is, you know, some of those kids who we were with when they were in pre-K and who are now, you know, grown adults, and they still have that light within them that's shining bright, and the impact that it's made on their lives and it continues to make on others. Now they're going into the communities and they're sharing the practices and they're spreading the love. And, you know, ultimately, I think a lot of what it had to do was them understanding their worth, you know, and learning to love themselves. And you know, we say it in the book, and anytime you hear us talking, we always talk about love because we're big love guys. But the impact
Love
that Love
Zombies, the
Zombies,
word
right?
coined by
Effectively.
Andreas.
You know, I think it's really powerful to see how that transformation has occurred within them, how they've learned to love themselves, and in turn, it helps them learn to look at everybody and everything in the world and learn to love that as well. And I think it's very empowering for them and the people around them. And you can see a different vibe in a lot of the people that we come across because they do exude that love and they embody that practice of knowing who they are, loving themselves, and then going out in the world and trying to be that reminder, right? Be that conduit to remind other people who they are and that that light is within them as well, and that they continue to love themselves. And that love just keeps spreading and spreading. So it's been so crazy to see kids, like I said before, who 20 years ago when we first started were little kids and now actually part of the Holistic Life Foundation family in terms of that they are the ones that are leading the classes and going around the nation, like obviously going around the world and making the same impact that we all are. So it's really beautiful to see the growth and the transformation in all the people we come in contact with. And
And like Andy, oh,
I was
go
going to
ahead.
Oh
say
Go
no,
one
ahead.
no, go
more thing. I
ahead.
saw that Carrie Ann mentioned that she wants to come out to Australia. Hit us up, Carrie Ann. We super down. Just hit us up at info@hlefinc.org or hit up one of our people that helps with organizing that, and that's fcsmith@hlefinc.org. So we'd love to come to Australia.
And
Sorry, Alan.
and like Andy said, like we've been at this for like going on 22 years now, and it's beautiful to see like the kids that we started off with are like breaking generational curses. You know, like
Yes.
kids that we started working with, they might not have had the tools to peacefully resolve conflicts, but seeing them, they have kids now. Like one of our former students, who's like our little bro, he has two sets of twins under the age, I guess, under the age of 7 now. And
Wow.
um, you know, he's introduced, they meditate, they breathe. Like that's something that they do in their house. Like it's nothing they, you know, like we're from a food desert where, you know, when you're walking to school, you can only get like chips and Huggies, like little sugary
Yeah.
drinks and sodas and stuff like that. But he's kind of like broken that curse and they don't even know what a soda is. You know what I mean? They're just
Wow.
drinking water, fresh juice, and, you know, eating vegetables and, you know, all that type of stuff. So, you know, it's beautiful seeing, I guess, you know, what Andy was saying, just seeing what the impact of these programs and the concepts of, you know, the yoga and the practices and understanding about, you know, live enzymes and fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, and them kind of bringing that into their families and, you know, really changing the dynamic of the trajectory of, you know, their health and their mental health, physical health, spiritual health. And, you know, I think that's one of the beautiful things about, I mean, there's a lot of beautiful things about the program, but, you know, that's one of the beautiful things about, you asked about the students. And I think, you know, breaking the generational curses and, you know, seeing them not do the practice. That's what Uncle Will used to always say, like, you can't do the practice, you have to be the practice. And seeing them implement it with their families, that is the epitome of like being the practice, you know?
Yeah, and you know, and a lot of people, you know, me personally, I grew up in a verbal and physically abusive home, but my mother was a descendant of that, so I don't hold any of that. You know, she's no longer with us and not here to defend herself, but I never, my brother and I, you know, forgave it because we knew it was a generational curse thing. One thing I love, and talking to one of the young ladies, I don't want to mention her name unless it's okay, but was that, you know, you still have to go home to certain kinds of homes that still don't feel comfortable. But then they started to transform their parents into taking a breath. I was thinking of like Janasia, you know, and just being able to get her mother to calm down and giving the kids the tools, like even though you might have to go back to a violent or verbally abusive home, having that tool for yourself, to me, is what makes the difference between going down one road and going down the other. And would you guys agree that that's what has helped them to still remain focused on that once they got to school?
Yeah, I think one thing we had to do was make the practice real practical for the kids because, like, you know, we were doing a lot of physical yoga when we first started. But I mean, that's not really going to help you like out on the street or in school. Like you can't, like you get into an argument and you're going to do the sun salutation. Like that's not really going to help you. That's not really realistic. But if you can give kids like their breath as a tool, mindfulness practices as a tool, even like the versions of the off the mat practices that are that we can teach in a way that aren't going to scare people away from the practice in schools,
Mm-hmm.
but like making it very, very practical. Because like Atman was saying, it's not something that you do. So you're not going to roll out your mat and do a practice. You have to be the practice. You got to embody it. And that's when it starts to make the change. Because like when we first started, we'd had the kids from like Monday through Friday. And then it was just like every Monday, it's like we were starting over because their home environments was so chaotic. It was like reset button. Monday, Tuesday was wild. Wednesday would be a little calmer. Thursday and Friday were great. Then boom, weekend, Monday, things are back to being wild. So it was like, you know, showing them ways to use the practices in real life, and that reciprocal teaching where they understand how to use the practice, they understand the benefits of the practice. Their emotional intelligence starts to go up because they start to understand, like, you know, because most kids are like disconnected from their internal life, so it's like they don't understand. They're just kind of like just kind of run by their emotions. Like anger just pops up and it takes over. Sadness, depression, whatever it is, it pops up and it just takes over. But the kids learn to be aware of these things and how to get back to center. And I think one thing we've done a really good job of is showing the kids how to use these practices in real life situations day to day, so that they can. I think Atman was talking about their outer worlds being in chaos, their homes being in chaos, their schools being in chaos, but they have inner peace. You know what I mean? And it's not going to be that they're there all the time, or when things get too chaotic, if they catch it, they can be like, "Oh, I forgot. I can go back to that place within me of that inner peace, that inner stillness, and kind of get centered, and then go back out and deal with the world." Because I mean, like I know for a long time we couldn't afford to go to retreat centers that we were teaching at. You know what I mean? So like the kids definitely couldn't. So it was like they had to have like that inner retreat, like that inner resource within them, so that they can you know, just survive the
Yeah.
situation that they were dealt.
Yes. And you know, the other big thing that I really love, I know you say it in the book as well, but you know, it's kind of like the thing with police officers. They have to be from the community to understand the community. And even when I spoke to the kids there, that's what they loved about you guys. And not only that, the fact that you all told them that you love them. Like a lot of those kids, I know even for one of my own cousins, never had his mother say, I love you, you know? So having that connection, without having to go through, you guys got to check out all the videos on their website, because there's just so much they're doing, and there's just so much I want them to tell you guys about, like with the mindful moment room. You can see all of that on their website, so you definitely want to go there and check that out. They've had so much news coverage about it as well. It's literally in the school. And the thing that I loved was finding a different answer to how to help your mental health care. One of the things I love in the book, you know, because I know being in the Bible Belt, it's always been a thing. Well, what's this yoga, meditation, and mindfulness thing? You know, what I love in the book, it says about prayer and meditation, is that they're two parts of the same conversation. And one is that you're talking to God, and meditation is listening. I love that. That just like, I swear I got it on a sticky and it's going to be in my room forever until it falls off. Explain to the viewers that may still be a little apprehensive about what's this yoga is. Can I still love God and then, you know, and do yoga and mindful and meditation in the best way that you feel is possible?
I feel like if you love God, meditation is the perfect place to be, because like the whole I mean, and yoga, I mean, because it's like the whole like yoga, and it's so like the yoga we teach in schools is very, very um secular. You know what I mean? It's all about ways to improve physiological and neurological outcomes, emotional outcomes, mental outcomes. Like very, very watered down, very surface level. But yoga in its purest form is we are all God. Like God shines within everyone and everything, and it's the science of how to tap into it and let it shine into your life. So it's like it's the movement, it's the way you live your life, it's the 4 stages of meditation, it's the breath work, and the yoga means union. So it's like unifying your consciousness with that God consciousness. So if you really love God, then I mean I can't think of a better thing to do than yoga, for real.
Okay. Or Allah, I don't want to disrespect
Whatever
anybody. Whoever you
Brahman,
serve.
Allah, God, whatever you want, the light of the universe, whatever you want to call it, it's that same light shining in everyone and everything. And yoga is how you tap into it.
Yeah, and honestly, like what like Ali was talking about is really tapping your individual consciousness into that universal consciousness, which is God. That's the ultimate goal of yoga. You know, people think yoga is just like manipulating your body in a weird position. You know what I mean? That's a part of it. That's like, you know, it's traditionally it's 8 limbs of yoga. You know, the yamas and niyamas, things you should do, things you shouldn't do. Then the asanas is like just the third step on the ladder, and that's a beautiful thing because, you know, like we said, the physical practices help you release that trauma that gets stored in the body, makes your body a safe space, and then it's also healing postures that you can do if you have any ailments going on in your body. Then it's the breathing that can, you know, still your mind, that can help you tap in to the top 4 levels of yoga, which is that union with that universal force, which is God. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I love that we can talk about this because we can't talk about this in school, but yeah, it's like that's what yoga essentially is, you know, tapping your individual consciousness into that universal consciousness, and you know, it'll give you glimpses into being one with God.
Yes. And you know, Bill Duke, who loves you guys, and you've spoken to him as well and interviewed him, who has been practicing transcendental meditation for years, you know, has said the same thing. When I remember when he was first kind of hipping rapper David Banner on it, he basically said, but you know, I'm from Mississippi, about God. And Bill said, listen, you got to prepare yourself to go to God. And that's what this is. That's what this meditation is. I'm preparing myself before I can act, you know, I got to be still. And we're not still. I know, you know, meditation has helped me. One of the other things that I love that you all do is that sometimes going inward is difficult for kids, and I love that you do guided meditation so that you're actually holding their hand through it instead of them just kind of like being quiet and still and having to process some trauma. And was that a conscious effort on your part, or did you collectively think of those things in front, or did you see things kind of play itself out and have to readjust to your training?
I think we learned through our fuck ups. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh,
you know what I mean? Like, we got into this. We had our own practice. We started working with kids, and we saw some things that weren't working. There was a young man who we miss. Marquise. If he's on here, Marquise Wallace. He was one of those kids that he would always get put out of the room whenever it was time to meditate, because we told him he had to, like, you had to close your eyes, you had to be still, and he would crush the movement, crush the breathing. Then he like punch somebody in the head or cuss one of us out, so he'd get put out. And then just seeing that, there were things going on in his life where he didn't feel safe being there. And then like just noticing the kids, like when they were laying still and we might have them in silence, and they just felt uncomfortable or whatever. And it was just about filling that space. And we saw that made them comfortable. So I think it was, we learned to be trauma informed the hard way. Baltimore has some of the highest ACEs scores in the country. And, we had to figure out ways to make the kids be comfortable with the practice and to help them heal and not to hurt them. So I think trauma-informed yoga gets thrown around a lot. And a lot of the trauma-informed yoga we see people teaching is not very trauma-informed. Like, it's going to do more harm than good. So I think make sure that you know what you're doing before you're working in most communities, because everybody's been traumatized in one way or another. In urban and I guess urban and rural underserved communities, like, people are heavily traumatized. They've been through a lot. So if you're going to go teach there, make sure you know your shit. You know what I mean? Make sure you're not going on there, because you'll definitely do more harm than good. And ACEs scores are adverse childhood experiences.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. Our board member, Miranda. Thank you.
Yes, I'm glad. I was about to ask that next because I know a lot of people may not know what that is. So thank you, Miranda.
and another thing, like that, just going back to what Ali was saying, like that inner Bill Duke, when we were leaving space in meditations, he would tell us, you didn't fucked up, right? You know what I mean? Because, if you have empty space in meditations, that's like a vacuum for trauma to come up. You know what I mean? And that's why we do the guided meditations, because, it guides them and doesn't allow space for that trauma that they've been through to come up in their life. And then, we'll eventually introduce small amounts of space into the meditation, but because we've been drilling them with the guided meditation for so long, they hear our voices when we do have that space. So if they do veer off to the left and then they start like, snowballing into some trauma, they will hear our voice like, all right, it's all right if a thought pops up into your mind. That's just natural. That's the nature of the human mind. Acknowledge it, let it pass, and then come back to the breath, and then whatever you're supposed to be focused on. So, just understanding, about how to be trauma informed, why it's important to do guided meditations. And because most communities are dealing with trauma, especially after this COVID thing, but especially in the communities that we work with, like Ali said, the rural and the inner city communities, like, you really have to do guided meditations and not just those like meditations where it's just open space. Once again, it's just a vacuum for trauma to pop up, and that'll make people kind of stay away from the practice. And, this is a birthright of everyone's, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So you got to do it right when you introduce it to people.
And speaking of numbers, 90% of HLF's original mentor cohort graduated from high school, and 100% are in school or working thanks to HLF. So also I wanted to find out, talk first of all, the end of this book with Uncle Will just brought me to tears, because I literally was up. I don't want to get emotional because I am very emotional. It definitely made the fact that he was ready to go, but he was just like, take off this mask. Like, to me, that just was so symbolic of the way. Now y'all haven't even mentioned that these brothers were Black Panthers. So they already were exposed to, you know, a lot of violence, and chose to find a way to have inner peace and having to disconnect from that to take care of themselves. And it seems like it's just amazing that you all have just become their lineage, you know, and doing the same thing, and just carrying on that work. I love the visual of Smitty being on a headstand, you know, when you're going downstairs to watch cartoons and things like that. How do you continue to keep the kids in that process as well? And how do you guys take care of yourselves? Because it is a heavy burden sometimes for some of us that are trying to do the work. How do you take time out to breathe as well?
I mean, I think all of us have our own practice. You know, first and foremost, I bet Ali and Atma meditate every day, just like I do at some point, plus the breathing practices, and then some of the other practices we share in the book that are more, you know, our personal stuff that we do, you know, because it, Holistic Life Found does it a very particular way, right? We're much more surface level, more awareness based practices. We're in school, so we're being very particular with being secular,
Right.
and not bringing conversations like God into
Right.
the conversation. Where we are leading practices. It's not until Ali and I have an amazing group, and I'm sure they'll talk about it a little more later, called the Involution
Yeah.
Group, where the practices are much deeper, right? You're really going inward, and it's more that spirituality and stuff that I think that the three of us do way more than we do in terms of some of the stuff that we're teaching HLF, because HLF is kind of getting you to take that first step on your journey, you know, and start getting used
Yeah.
to your practices and learning how to deal with the internal, external bombardment, learning how to be in the present moment, be aware, be centered, be here right now. Whereas when you really start working with your involution, you're going inward, those practices are much deeper, and you're going more with that, like Atma says, that the higher consciousness level, and that the capital S self, right? The real big
Yeah.
self, your real
Yes.
infinite, omniscient, omnipotence.
And it's one of those things about figuring out what those things are that make your soul smile. You know what I mean? Like we do a lot of things that make us genuinely happy, and that kind of refreshes us, recharges us. You know, whether it's, you know, Ali's a master gardener, he has a certificate, but I am a 10 times better gardener than he is. And when I go out
Uh-oh,
there and
brother rivalry.
hit my garden up and, like, you know, grow things from seed to seedling and then fruit and then harvest, like that, like really gets me grounded. You know, and like, you know, shit, we'll whenever me, Ali, and Andy get together, like when we're on the road, we'll, I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but we'll go to a bar, have a couple beers,
Yep.
and shoot the shit. You know what I mean? Like that, like, you know, just finding those different, whether it's jogging, working out, you know, finding those things that make your soul smile, your heart smile. That's thoroughly important. People think that self-care is selfish, but that is what you need to do to be able to survive and be able to
Yes.
keep giving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
You
So
definitely got to
talk.
do those things that you really, really love, like Atma says, like whatever it is, you know, and all of us have different things that we like to do, but I know we make sure, I know when we first got started, we weren't doing that as much, you know, there wasn't as much of that work play balance. It was just work, 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 not setting boundaries and emailing each other, calling each other about work stuff at all hours of the day. But eventually us learning that, hey, you know, you really, in order to give from that overflow, right, of your cup, instead of emptying your cup, you really got to make sure you take care of yourself. So do those things that really, like you said, just make you happy, make you smile. If it's walking, jogging, art, music, dancing, singing, play some video games if you
Crochet.
need to, crocheting, for real, for whatever, reading, you know, just find those things that really, really help you just be in that, like, this feels good. You know, it doesn't have to be, I think there's that misconception oftentimes that it has to be that sitting practice that some people consider a burden because it's uncomfortable for them to sit all straight up and their mind's going crazy because they're trying to still it. And they're like, how is this recharging me? You know, so just think of
Yeah.
those things that are just fun to make you have a good time. I think that's so important for self-care. And if not, you're going to burn out. So you got to make sure if you're going to be working hard, make sure you play hard. And we certainly learned how to
Yeah.
play hard pretty good.
I know you
And
guys
and
need
one
to.
more, I think one thing that Uncle Will was always kind of staying on us about was staying vigilant about your practice. You know, your practice serves you in the moments where the shit hits the fan if you're using your practice during the moments where things are really good. So like, you know what I mean? When life is good, a lot of people kind of fall away from their practice and they want to jump back on it when things get real bad. But like you fortify yourself in the practice during those moments when life is good and things are calm, like having that daily practice. So when things do, because I mean, that's a part of the human experience is things that it just blows up in your face. And then what are you going to do? Like that's a part of the human experience. It's going to happen every once in a while. And it's just like, well, how are you going to move through that? Because those good learning moments, that's where you kind of like, you know, you see how strong that inner strength you have, see your connection to the universe, your connection to God. So it's like, you know, like you're not going to be connected if you only try to do it during those moments. So like, it's easier to fall back on your practice in those tough moments when you really kind of strengthen yourself in it during those easy moments. So everybody on here, like if you don't have a personal practice, daily practice, get one. And you will notice the difference in actually the people around you will notice it first. They were like, wow, you're a lot less of an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, but you know what I mean? Cause like we're all assholes in our own ways,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know, like we, the things that those parts of you that are kind of lower vibrational will start to fall off. And you know, it'll look a little different. But you know, like having that daily practice all the time helps you in those moments when life gets tough. So I think that's one of the things that we have, because it's not like it's been a rough 22 years, honestly. Like, you know what I mean? Like it has not been easy. Some of the moments have been really, really rough and difficult, but it's like, you know, all right, well, I mean, I can go in the light, I can burn all that stuff off, and I come back out and I fight again. You know what I mean? And like eventually it works itself out. I mean, like all those practices we do, the mantras and the energetic stuff, like it'll all work itself out. But getting to where, like, you know, at the end of the tunnel is rough sometimes and it's difficult. But our practice keeps us going through.
And I know
I love
one thing that Ali reiterates also that Uncle Will told us is like going back to that personal practice. Start your day off in the light and end your day in the light. You know what I mean? That is a way to be able to maintain through the highs and lows of this human experience, because everything ain't going to be high. Like it could be if you live like in a mountain somewhere, but we live in Baltimore City, and you know everybody else like probably on this live doesn't live in a mountain either. So if you start your day off in the light and end your day in the light, that'll help you out tenfold. That's like what Ali basically was talking about as far as having your personal practice.
Yes, and I want to talk. Oh, it's so much. I wish with the Mohawk community. Oh my God, with just the Native American community and bringing them together and giving them the tools. It really, you know, just so you guys that are watching today, they also train. You can look at all of the workshops. They've been at the Omega Institute. If you feel like this is something that you could bring to your own companies, schools, definitely look up Holistic Life Foundation and see how you can bring them, you know, into training. It would definitely change the whole atmosphere. I'm not gonna lie, when I was production supervising the movie for Mr. Perry, Tyler Perry, the film that's on Netflix now, I was doing so much work in my practice, meditation, yoga daily, and then I had to kind of disconnect and not be as consistent because of the responsibilities. And when I was cracking, I called Ali, and I literally sat in my car to talk to him just so I could keep, you know, like, even if it was just for a few minutes, because I was so afraid to lose the work that I was doing on myself, that I felt like I needed another source that I could connect to ask questions. So that way you know, because there's a lot of chaos in this industry, man. We know that there's more chaos in the world. So we do need these tools. Talk to us about what happens to our bodies when we take a breath, and talk to us about involution. And that's what I love about these lives, because you can talk about everything without the the rules. You know what I mean? We need that's what I love about these brothers. Like, they keep it real. They know how to tap into the community. They know how to talk to these kids. They have cute words like taco with Sanskrit words that, you know, that are really difficult. So, but talk to us about, I'm making sure I'm conscious of your time, what happens to our bodies when we take a breath. And I love something that I believe Nikki said. She said, it's hard to fix the roof, you know, once there's the storm. Oh, I love that. I love that. Curly Nikki, I love that your hair is curly if it's curly. But talk to us about, I love the word involution, number one. I think I want to get it tattooed somewhere. So talk to us about that.
And you want to start with the breath?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So sorry, I thought you all were going to say something about involution. So yeah. So basically, the breath is the foundation of everything that we go with, right? And we always recommend Dr. Nadine Burke Harris TED Talk, because she talks about those ACE scores, and she
Yeah,
talks about the autonomic nervous
I
system.
love her. I
Yeah,
love her.
and what's going on with our bodies, So basically, when we start slowing ourselves down and breathing the right way, it tells our brain to shift to that sympathetic side of our autonomic nervous system, right? That's when we're nasal breathing. It's a nice slow pace. You'll feel your salivary glands kick in. Your heart rate slows down. That's how we're supposed to be the majority of the time. And that's a lot of the things that we're doing, is we're just reminding people, like we were saying earlier, right, how to breathe the right way, because your breath is constantly with you. It's portable. It's always there, and it can be that anchoring tool that you have no matter what you're going through, right? And when we start showing people to be aware of what's going on with themselves and their mind, what's being thrown at them, what's going on with themselves internally as well, they can start catching themselves when they get off center, and they can use their breath to bring themselves back to being present, and to make it so that you're not responding. I mean, you're not reacting to what the world's throwing at you, but you're more responding to what everything is happening. So I think a large part of it is just, the breath has that ability to slow us down and shift us from sympathetic to parasympathetic.
Mm-hmm. And involution.
So the involution thing is something that Uncle Will and Smitty used to always talk about, because they were diehard revolutionaries at first. You know what I mean? They were all about it. Any type of ism, they read a book on it. They were all about like wanting to shift the world and change the world. Time with the Panthers, like all that stuff. All that stuff was going on, and they were like, "Well, I don't know if this is really gonna work out, because revolutions, like, they get bloody at some point. Like, all this stuff happens, and like they get violent." And then they were looking at like evolution, and evolution takes a really long time for people to like change their anatomy and physiology and all that stuff to adapt to what's going on. But an involution you can do right away. That's like changing yourself to change the world. So like involution, like you're actually tapping into your inner light and letting it shine out. That's why our book is called Let Your Light Shine. So it's like, instead of like you being stuck in the outside world and in your thoughts, like you're kind of pulling your consciousness inward towards your light and letting it shine out. And that's how people can change. Because if everybody was doing that, we wouldn't have any issues. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't have to worry about changing the world. Everyone would be changing themselves. And that's all you can really control, really, is yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my son, I got two sons, like they meditate, but like at some point, if they were like, nah, we're not meditating, like I can't really force them to. We aren't Smitty. Like, I'm not Smitty. I can't force them to meditate, but you know what I mean? Like, if they wanted to not, they would. They love it. I mean, they love their practice, but I'm just saying, like, the only person I'm really in control of is Ali on this planet.
Yes.
So if I can, and then like, even like your light reverberates out and people feel your vibration and they're attracted to it and they want to know more and they ask questions and they want to learn how they can vibrate that way too. So I think that's that whole reminder thing that Uncle Will was talking about. Like, all this information is inside of each and every one of us. We just forget it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to be reminded that, like, you're not your body, you're not your thoughts, you are God, you're the light of the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's what you truly are. And once you're reminded of it and you're shown how to get there, then life becomes a little more manageable. I'm not gonna say it becomes easier, because it definitely doesn't become easier, but it just becomes a little more manageable, and you have a base to work from. Like Atman was talking about starting your day in the light. Uncle Will used to always say it's easier to go from the inside out than the outside in. So it's easier to, so like, you start your day in the light, you start your day with your true self, then you move outward from there, instead of like trying to start out in all the chaos and try to figure it out and then come back in. Like, it's better to start your day in the light and work your way out.
So speaking of Uncle Will, I really wish I would have met him, but I feel like I have through the three of you. Uncle Will said, let your light shine through the light within, because let your light shine because the light within has so much dust. Woof. Another sticky for my wall. So let's talk about the book.
I love
and all my
how many notes you have in the book. And so,
oh my God. I just honestly, like, I was just like, yes, all of this stuff. Then texting friends quotes and information. I love the Mohawk community. Talk to us about like why you wrote it, and discuss the Mohawk community and the importance of coming together as a village to make a change, like you're doing in you did in Baltimore. But you're not just serving your own community. You're starting, you've been going all over the world doing it. And so, talk to us about why you wrote the book. I love it. It's so real, y'all. Go get a copy. I feel like Oprah. Go get your book today. It's definitely life-changing. I'm gonna get another one because I don't like making a mess, but I can't help it. I mean, I have origami, like literally the most amazing words, even the titles, shedding, like just everything. It breaks down the whole yoga and what mudras are and things like that, but it's also real, just straight up, real, here it is, origami yourself. I love that. But here's something. I love this, and tell me if I'm saying his name wrong. Is it Acharya Peter?
Cherry Peter.
Peter,
Yeah.
another person that definitely has impacted your life. Peter, he said, whatever is going on outside happened, but you're still a spiritual being, and that is where you have to stay no matter what. You have to find a way to translate your spirit into the world, and you guys are definitely doing that. I feel so blessed to know you all. So talk to us about, Turner Station. Those of you that know that I just recently produced a documentary on Henrietta Lacks, whose cancer cells were stolen from her body, which is why we have a lot of the cure today, was at Turner Station, where their parents came from. But sorry, I'm just getting off tangent because get the book, guys. Just get the book. Talk to us why you guys wrote it. And if you didn't see the interview with Michael Strahan, it was quick, but you got to check out that too, which is again on my bio, and you can get all things HLF off my bio. And their wonderful mother, Cassie, give her love for me too. Okay. Talk to us about the book.
Where y'all want to go?
You can jump on it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think mainly there's like three parts to the book, y'all. So when you get it, the gist is it's the beginning is kind of the foundation, like Ali said earlier, how those seeds were planted way before any of us were even born, in terms of the Holistic Life Foundation, the Involution Group, and all that type of stuff of really making an impact and change in the world. So you learn about the upbringing of Ali and Atma. You hear about Smitty, about Uncle Will, about Cassie, and then all the stuff that they've gone through. So really just like the foundation of how Holistic Life Foundation was created and why Holistic Life Foundation was created. And part two are some practices that we're sharing with you that you can start incorporating into your lives. Some breath work, some meditation, some mantras, some mudras, a lot of the stuff that we don't get to teach as often in schools that we can more use for ourselves. Some of the stuff, that we do in schools, but also some of the stuff the Involution Group shows as well. So if you don't have a practice, it's a nice beginning little setup for you to start, tinkering and being a scientist, like Uncle Will used to always say to us, and figuring out what works for you and what you can start incorporating into your routine. And it really just gets you to start practicing day to day to day. And then the last part really is some tips and pointers, really just stuff we learned from our fuck ups and from when we stumbled and when we messed up, going through doing this for 20 some years now, and just trying to see, if you want to start making an impact in your neighborhood, in your area, your surrounding area, some of the, pointers that we could pass along, some advice that we could throw out to you all to help you all out, and ultimately to know that we are here. We really are. We want to support and be a resource for everyone all over the world to keep sharing these practices and, being those conduits to remind people of the light within them, which is so important. I think when you forget that, I think it's very difficult to be able to walk through this world and have compassion and have empathy for others. So I think a large part of that, letting your light shine, like Uncle Will said, I always remember him like telling the story how, our light's in us, and a lot of it's covered with dirt or dust. So it's like, it's very dim. And as you start getting into your practice more and more, you're basically like wiping that dust or that dirt off, and that light within you starts shining so bright that wherever you're going, you're impacting other people. It's like that you step into a room and they can feel that that aura surrounding you, and they get engulfed by your light, and they feel that love, and now they have that, and now some of their light starts getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And I think ultimately we want to do is like bring the sky down to here. You know, we're all stars in our own versions, and for all of us to shine at our brightest capacity. And I think that the book will help out with that, because it'll help you start, you know, forming your own practice, going inward, experiencing that involution within yourself, and getting your light to shine as bright as it can, so that you can help others. And, you know, together we will make the world a better place. It's inevitable, but it has to be together. We can't keep dividing. We can't keep splitting apart. We can't keep, you know, using all this polarizing information that we see all over platforms now today. It's always, you don't have to pick a side. The only side that there really is human beings and oneness. And that's basically what we're trying to remind each other, you know, this, to love, spread love, and be that light and let it shine as bright as possible.
Yeah, I think the other reason we wrote the book was to inspire people.
Yeah.
Like, if the three of us can make this much of a change, like, anybody can make a change. Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm being dead ass real. You know what I mean? Like, I think we learned, Uncle Will gave us some great information. We decided to share it with as many people. We actually made a promise that we share it with as many people as possible. But, like, anybody can really make a change. Like, it can start off small. Like, we started off with 15 kids. That was it. We started with 15 kids. We had no idea what we were doing.
Boys too, right? It was all
15 boys. We started with 15 boys, and we started rolling with them. And then, like, it's snowballed into this, and it's snowballed into, like, a lot of people, like, an HLF being the three of us to an entire team. So it's like, you know, like, get out there. And, like, I think it was a lot about just inspiring people to get out there and just start doing something. Because if everybody was doing something, those little somethings would add up into a lot of big somethings. So just, I think that was one of the main things we wanted to get across in the book. Like, Atman always uses the quote, like, be the change that you want to see in the world. Like, go do it. Like, don't think about it. Don't philosophize about it or wonder how you can get it started. Just go do something.
Yeah, like Ali said, we wanted people to be like, if they meet us, or even if they don't meet us, if they read the book, be like, man, if these MFers can inspire and empower communities to make change within themselves and, you know, with their family members, like, and their communities, I can do it myself. You know what I mean? So it's like trying to reverberate the positive influx that needs to happen, because the world is chaotic right now, and the world needs the light to shine. And, you know, like the book says, let your light shine. We try to teach people how to let their light shine. What's up, Lily?
Get the book, guys. Get the book. And, you know, something they're not saying, because they're so humble, we need to rally around brothers like this that, you know, we're so quick to, like, jump on the next rapper and the next artist and the next this and the next that's not doing anything for communities or to heal anyone. And when we see, you know, we see brothers like this that literally, and I know it was a hard grind. You don't get paid right away for this type of work. It takes a long friggin' time. And, you know, yeah, you can go speak at different conventions and things like that, or you go teach and everything, but we need to be supporting organizations and brothers like this that are helping our kids. Like, I'm waiting to finish school because I'm going to be having my butt out in Baltimore, so I can train me, so I could be you know, another love zombie, you know, part of their community, because we need to have these tools. You know, not to mention, I'm an empath. Everything I see destroys me, you know, so that's why I have to separate myself, and I got to make sure I take care of my mental health, which is why I was looking for other answers, and I wanted to share with you all, because, you know, we don't always, it's the revolving door of the mental health care system. While it works for most people, not for Black and brown folks, that's for sure. We need to be able to find other ways to heal, just like they did back in the day. Slaves, you know, during slavery, even though they, you know, they were in these horrific, you know, my ancestors were in these horrific situations, they still had their mind. They still had their prayers. They still had their spiritual hymns. They found ways. And this is what this is. This is exactly the same. This is how do we, like, I tell all my brothers or anybody in my family that has been in prison, they cannot take your mind. So continuously feed that with the tools that you need. When I met the Holistic Life Foundation, they changed my life. the get the book. Let's support them. And they're not asking me to do this, y'all. This is coming from my heart. You know, we need the, if they can go into Baltimore, into Bmore, and make those schools feel like Zen, can you imagine what they're going to do in the world? So let's just make sure that we support that. Okay, that's my 20 cents. I have to make sure I say this out loud because you know me, I am all about supporting healing, and that's what this is. What is the one thing that everyone watching can do today to help themselves not react with stress, anger, or fall into depression? Because people think, you know, mental illness, oh, that's just those schizophrenia, like my father, bipolar disorder. No, read what mental illness is, okay? So it's also anger, it's also depression, it's also anxiety, it's also all of those things that cause our mental state to feel ill. And why I'm fighting, because medical and mental, even though there's a parity act to get us the care we need, it's still not being treated the way it should be treated, which is why we need these other tools, these important tools that we can take with us at all times through all of these issues. So again, what is one thing that, you know, we could do to with not reacting to stress, anger, falling into depression, or witnessing the pain and pressures of the world that we live in?
So you brought up a Cherry Peter, so I'm gonna jump on a Cherry Peter. So a Cherry Peter was the guy that ran the church that me and Atman grew up in. He was like a spiritual stand-up comedian, funny ass dude. Like if he would say something that was kind of like off a little bit, I mean, like it'd be funny, but people might be like, "Ooh, he can't say that." He'd be like, he was always looking at everyone and laughing, He'd be like, "Your God is so serious. My God is hilarious. Like, why are you? I wouldn't want to serve your God. Like, my God is hilarious. Like, you all should be laughing." But he would always talk about, like, during such difficult times in the world. I remember distinctly, like, around the time of 9/11, where people were just like all like stressed out and scared and angry and like all this, like that was the vibration of the world. And he would talk about like, where's your conscious awareness? Like, where are you putting your consciousness? Are you letting your consciousness be on the outside where there is all this fear and anger and anxiety and all, and depression and all these other things? Or are you focused on like the beauty in the world and like the universal energy within you? Like, where is your consciousness? So I think that's something that everybody can do every day, is like just you know, take a toll of where your consciousness is. Like, are you focused on those lower vibrational things, or are you focused on those higher vibrational things? And like, it's up to you where you're he would always say happiness was a choice. You know what I mean? Like, you could choose to be sad and depressed and angry, or you could choose to be happy, because there's beauty in everything, no matter what's going on. There's like the ultimate beauty within us. So I think it's just like taking a gauge of where your conscious awareness is, and making sure you're focused on, and not like head in the clouds, like ignoring what's going
Right.
on. Like, be aware of everything that's going on, but at the same time, like, where is your consciousness, and keep your consciousness focused on those high vibrational things.
Mm-hmm. And if you all didn't see, I have all of their Instagrams tagged in the post to announce that I was getting ready to come on the air, you know, come on live with them. Follow them, because they also do live meditations. Sometimes I'll have my AirPods while I'm in class and I just listen, because it's just hearing it keeps me kind of sound. So you can still, you know, join in on those as well. And of course, again, holisticlifefoundation.org is in my bio, and I believe their board member also posted it. But please follow this amazing journey. Take it into your own selves. I am trying to share a tool that I've been blessed by meeting them, you know, that is still helping me since the day we met. Do you want to add some more about my last question? I don't know if I interrupted you guys about how you just
I mean,
basically. Mhm.
honestly, the last thing I'd add is just to reiterate what Andy was talking about, as far as how powerful the breath is and how it can take you out. Or if you really understand the science of the breath, it can take you from that stress state where you're reacting to things to that calm state where, you know, you're responding to things. And just being able to do that in real life situations, you know, it's great to be able to calm you down, but it's a life saving skill that, you know, a lot of the kids that we work with, it could prevent them from, either, doing something that they'll regret for the rest of their life, or, help them peacefully resolve a conflict. So understanding about, how powerful the breath is, and, how it can, elevate your consciousness, and it can still your mind to help you make the optimal decision in stressful situations. I think that's, very important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just remember, y'all, I've said it, but love is the most powerful force, y'all, in the entire universe. For real. Don't ever forget that. Remember to love yourself, to give love to yourself and to everyone.
I'm wearing it. I'm wearing a hoodie. Love yourself from a young 18-year-old kid, motivational speaker who had dealt with a family member who committed suicide and used it as his journey as well. And I told him to watch us tonight, so hopefully he has. Is there anything else in closing that you want to add, or let our viewers know where they can find you? I know I've mentioned a lot. Hopefully I covered everything, because I was trying to be conscious of your time. I love you guys so much. I can't thank you enough for being here tonight, for allowing me to share the gift of all of you with anyone watching tonight. Thank you so much for being here, and I will forever be your student. By the way, I asked, Andreas, I was like, give me the books that you guys are reading. I'm thinking it's going to like send me an email like this big. It was like, whoo! I'm still like on number 2.
I think
the autobiography of
I think the last thing I want to add is just like, just channeling the universal Bill Duke. If you don't buy a book, you didn't fuck up. Right?
And just somewhere where you can find us. We do an annual retreat with Sharon Salzberg at the Garrison Institute. It's going to be in person and hybrid, so you can either come. We would love for everybody just to come to the Garrison Institute with the 3 of us. Sharon's going to get beamed in, but you can do it in person or hybrid. It's going to be November 10th, 11th, and 12th. Over the weekend, it'll be that evening of the 11th, all day Saturday, and in the morning on Sunday. But yeah, the link is in our bio. You can it's actually in my story now if you check it out. But yeah, it's called Care for the Caregiver, because we're all caregivers in some aspect of our lives, and you got to learn to take care of yourself. And if you're looking to develop your personal practice to be stronger, the way you show up for yourself in the world, it's a great retreat to come to.
Yes.
Love you so much, Nina, too. Love you so much, too. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. I'm so happy you guys said yes. So they could find it in the Holistic Life Foundation bio, or Ali.
In our bios. Check in our bios. You'll see it there. Or just look up the Garrison Institute and you'll see it there.
Follow these brothers. If you can't make it, share it in his story. Let everybody know. Get your copy of the book, and DM me. Let me know that you got it, and let's have another conversation. We'll try to schedule another time with them, and maybe we can do a book club thing. Some questions you might have from the book. So find another way to get together. I don't want this just to be a one-time conversation. I want to continue the journey. So if you get the book and you start, let's talk about that. We'll schedule another time, maybe even a personal Zoom with these brothers when they have time after the holidays. It's a great book for the holidays, by the way. Get your copies. Love and light.
Thank you, Gina.
Yeah,
love you. Thank you so
much. For me, I love her.
Definitely.
Thank you, and have a good night. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Oh, G, can you tag them again on your IG page? Yes, I can. They're actually in the announcement for when I said, hey, in an hour, I'm getting ready, and I put all their IGs in there, but I will tag it again. Love you guys.
Love you too.
All right, peace, y'all.
Thank you.